Hi everybody. In this video, I really wanted to address why I questioned everything that I learned in medical school. And when you start exploring or seeking functional medicine practitioners, everyone has a different story. Typically, it's either a family member when they were growing up, or it's their own journey that happened when they were practicing medicine. Very few people, and I can say I was gifted, had the experience that I had, which is I got sick, very sick, in fact, with leukemia at the perfect age. So I was old enough at 15 to know there should be a reason why my body allowed this to happen, why I got cancer. But I was also young enough to not be indoctrinated, meaning I was not programmed by the current medical system, big pharma. I wasn't in a routine that I had to change. I literally just knew there should be more. And I asked my doctors at the time, and my parents asked the doctors. And when I realized nobody had any answers, and I was fascinated by the human body, I decided, well, I guess I will need to figure out the answers myself. And that's literally why I went to medical school. So for me, the question isn't why did I question everything in medical school? It was, wow, why did I get sick? And okay, I'm going to medical school to find out, because that's what everybody thought, right? Like, if there's an illness, we should learn about it in med school. So I was lucky enough to have the capacity to get into a really good medical school and ask a lot of questions there. So I asked questions. I said, okay, but why? As I would watch all these patients come in, they would have varying diagnoses, they'd have varying symptoms, they'd have varying complaints. And the team that I would be working with as a student would do all these great things, right? Like, it was detailed history, so we knew all the nuances. It was fancy tests and protocols and medications and scans and blood work. And then the patients would be told potentially what was wrong with them, and then the plan that was going to happen to treat them. But then there was me standing there saying, okay, I'm learning a lot of these diagnoses. I saw gaps because sometimes people would come in and they wouldn't fit in a diagnostic box, right? I'm learning how those diagnostic boxes, if a patient got put in the box, there was a set protocol, how to treat. So I was learning those pathways, which was really great. And this is why when people criticize medicine in general or blame doctors for everything, that is not the answer either, because there are a lot of great things that traditional medicine has provided, that my traditional training taught me about when a patient has a set diagnosis. Well, first of all, how to analyze a set of symptoms, come up with certain diagnoses, even though that doesn't always work, and then follow protocols to treat. Like, that is useful. And I would argue that it's a skill that can't be beat, even in the traditional way that we're trained today. So I would go in there, watch this, learn these valuable skills, but because of my upbringing and the gift of my own disease, I knew that the core question wasn't being answered, which is why? Okay, fine, this person fits into the lupus box. Why did they get it? Or, okay, this guy had early coronary disease in his 40s. Why? Do I know how to treat it? Absolutely. Can I diagnose it? Absolutely. Can he go get the highest level of scans and CCTAs and coronary cath and stents and be put on the best meds? Absolutely. But why did this dude at 42, with no family history, no smoking, etc., have an issue while his friend or his brother is fine? So that underlying question, that theme that stuck with me, that curiosity, is what has led me kind of to where I am today. And what happened was as I went through medical school, and thought about what I wanted to do for my fellowship, I started out really I thought I wanted actually to be a dermatologist, interestingly enough, because that seemed like it was a really good path. My cousin did that. All the cute girls in medical school were dermatologists. But I went and tried 3 different rotations in dermatology, and they were just treating this topical presentation topically. And they didn't understand it. I sat there watching saying there's something going on inside this human and we're not getting to the root cause. So I couldn't do that. It just didn't jive with me in any way. Internal medicine seemed like the broadest approach that is, to this day, if you are seeking a practitioner in functional medicine or integrative approaches, I still think practitioners trained in internal medicine have the broadest approach because we learn about everything. And as I went through my internal medicine training and then started my practice, I knew I wanted to prevent disease. I knew that much. And I was working with obesity and nutrition, and I was teaching myself these things because we aren't taught these things in traditional medical school. Luckily, there were fellowship training programs that I was able to do afterwards. And during those programs, I realized there's so much more that we weren't taught. And I was fascinated by it. And I went to one course in integrative approaches to thyroid. And the reason that I kept moving forward and seeking was because my own body continued to lead me. And again, this is why I thank my vessel every single day, even with all the journeys. So after I went through all the chemo, and I had heart failure induced by chemotherapy when I was 20, after I kind of navigated through that and got to a baseline that was improved, I was able to get pregnant. And then my pregnancy triggered autoimmunity. So I got psoriasis and sinus problems that were chronic and Hashimoto's. And I know now that some of the cardiac issues were even immune and autoimmune mediated. So once that pushed me a little bit further, I was able to pay attention to those patients around me. And luckily, I've been gifted with people like you guys who are interested in learning, who know there's more out there. And so they would ask and they would push and they would even bring me things. So a patient brought me some early ideas on integrative thyroid and approaches to integrative thyroid. And at the time I was having thyroid eye problems, sought out a specialist. I went to a functional lecture in integrative thyroid, and even the lecturer didn't know the answer to my questions. So I kept getting kind of signs from the universe, direct signs that people, even in the integrative world, definitely in the traditional world, had absolutely no idea. So it just kept my curiosity going, which is my biggest advice to you. Keep the curiosity going. Keep yourself fascinated with what is going on in both your body, those that you love, but also in the medical world because it's shifting so quickly. And I kept pushing. So when the traditional path, when I walked in with all these great questions that I had learned from the integrative doctor, even though he didn't know the reasons behind them, I thought maybe this expert would, and he didn't either. So then I was back to the drawing board, and I just kept experimenting with my own body, studying with my patients, and then I got exposed to new modalities. So as the patients would come in more and more educated, as my body kept showing me different types of scenarios and problems, I kept seeking. And around that time is when I discovered kinesiology or muscle testing, which please watch some of the other videos, both on my practice website and here about that technique, because we can find things that don't show up on labs and scans using a very safe, comfortable reflex that the body has. And I was able to go from being told that I needed eye surgery, having had sinus surgery, feeling horrible, to no eye surgery even today, finding out that I had multiple issues with chronic fatigue viruses, persistent mold and yeast issues, severe toxic overload from all the chemo, and starting to work on that as my body started to heal. So there are more and more steps along my personal journey that we can share in other videos. But the point for all of you is that as I got exposed to different modalities, different options, I was able to test it. So I had this vibrant practice that I had built because I have empathy. I understand the patient's journey first, right? Because I was a patient before I was a doctor. So as I would walk the patients through their own personal journeys, I would learn the nuances from them as well. So my advice to you on this journey is many, many things. I want you to first off understand that your journey is different from everybody else's. And by that, I mean not only is your set of symptoms or diagnoses or your why going to be different, because everybody's is unique. We all have a unique toxic load and unique set of traumas and stressors, a unique genetic makeup and how it interacts with the environment. But where you are today, so what you're willing to do, what you're capable of doing, how quickly you can work on reclaiming yourself and healing is going to differ from your partner or your colleague or your family member. So don't judge that. They may be somebody who has been doing functional medicine and is already feeling amazing, or they may be somebody completely closed off who only believes in traditional. None of that matters because of the number one thing I have learned that has carried me through my journey of my own healing, but also of healing patients, is that the answer lies in sovereignty. And what that means is reclaiming your own connection to yourself, connection to the divine, spirit, the universe, connection to a higher healed version of you. That is the most important thing, where we stop living roles. We stop becoming codependent. We stop judging ourselves, having self-judgment. And we learn self-love. We learn to take the pace that we need. We learn that we are worthy of asking why and not just accepting our fate. So I hope this little vision into my journey can help you as you step into your own ability to question. It's okay to question. Things have been really crazy over the past, since the pandemic especially. People are now wondering, does this actually make sense? Does it make sense that we've had commercials for medications on the TV? Does it make sense that we are put in a fear-based place about our own health and things that we should put into our body to prevent it? Ask those questions. Honor yourself by asking them. And then find someone that you can work with, that you feel safe with. We have tons of programs that are here willing to help. But either way, you can start the journey today on your own. Just identify where you are. Just be real. Get ready to take that first step. And remember to question everything. Thank you, guys. I'll see you in the next video.